Good afternoon, everyone. I'm here today because Common Cause is deeply concerned about the census. We're concerned first about the end-to-end test that you've heard about that's happening in Providence County right now. As you've heard, there were funding limitations put on by Congress to that test, and so there's been zero advertising budget. So that's why I think we're all grateful that you all came here today. So we need to get word out to everyone who lives in Providence County that they should respond to the survey as soon as they can. So if you received a letter, and I actually brought my letter, so if you got a letter like this one, you need to go online and you need to fill out the form. It's your obligation, and we need to show the country that Providence County is going to do this. This is a very real problem. I just want to tell a brief story. On Saturday, I went into a grocery store, ran into a friend of mine, and he said, "Hey, I was about to throw this form into the garbage when I heard you on NPR last week, and I decided to fill out the form." This is a well-educated guy who's paying attention to current events, and he didn't even realize this test was happening in our community. So lots of people don't know about this test, and we need to get that word out. So again, thanks for coming. We're also very concerned about this citizenship question for 2020. So anyone who takes the time out to fill out that form in that questionnaire is going to find out that there is no citizenship question on what you're being asked to fill out now. So unlike other questions that are being tested, so if you fill out that form, you're going to discover that they're testing how to ask about same-sex households. This is the first census since that became the law of the land. They're getting good data on how to ask that question. They're not getting data on how to ask the citizenship question. So it's being set up to fail in that way. So just to give you some idea of how important the census is, this is the largest non-military deployment that the US government undergoes every 10 years. This is a huge undertaking. So this test, we're the only one in the country, is incredibly important in getting that right. So we're concerned about the citizenship question for two reasons. First, we know it's going to drive down participation, particularly in immigrant communities like Central Falls, where we are now. Article 1 of the Constitution, as you heard, requires a count of the whole number of persons, and anything that drives down turnout goes against the Constitution. So one immediate result of that is it's going to cost more to conduct the census. For every 1% in turnout, it's estimated that $55 million additional is spent to try to find people, because they're not just going to send you the questionnaire. They're going to come knock on your door if you don't fill it out, and it's going to cost taxpayers more money. The second reason is that ultimately, if they include the citizenship question, fewer people are going to fill it out, and we're going to have bad information, and that's going to lead to bad public policy. So it's invisible to us, but census data are the foundation of decisions made by governments at all levels. You heard about mayors, but state government makes decisions, and the federal government makes decisions based on census data. In fact, the very first thing the census does with their data is they send it to the states to do redistricting. That's the very first census release, next time in January 2021. And if you don't get good census data, you can't draw fair maps. So if we still have 2 congressional districts, they won't be drawn correctly. All 113 state legislative districts won't be drawn correctly if we don't have good data. We know this citizenship question is not needed. The Justice Department said it's needed to enforce the Voting Rights Act. That's not true. The Voting Rights Act has existed for 50 years, and they haven't asked the question in those 50 years on the short form. So we know it's not needed. So we ask the administration to do the right thing, scrap this ill-conceived plan to ask the citizenship question, and fully fund the outreach that's going to be necessary to make the census a success. Thanks.